In this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 tips that you need to know if you plan to rent your property as a gite or on Airbnb. So as I'm recording this video, it's dark, it's the winter, even snow this morning in Normandy, but soon you'll be starting to take your first bookings online as people start booking their summer holidays. Now you need to be aware that in France, for most things, you want to register the activity before you start promoting it. And it's probably why if you've had a message from Airbnb, they might have said to you, we want to have your unique activity number or fiscal number because we want to make sure you are official. So here are my 5 tips for you today. The first tip, this one you might be aware of, you're going to have to start by declaring the holiday rental to the mairie, and you're going to be filling a form called Déclaration de meublé de tourisme. In some areas you can do it online. Most places you have to go to the mairie, and it's basically informing the mairie or asking the mairie that you can rent your property. They are doing this for 2 reasons. They want to keep a tab of the properties available for rentals. So for instance, the Office de Tourisme would know about it, but also they want to keep a balance between the permanent resident and the holiday homes, and that's one way for them to do so. But what most people don't realize, that's a pure administrative task. It's not because you told the mairie that you are official. The mairie doesn't pass the information to anybody else. So, which leads me on to tip number 2. Declaring your gite or Airbnb to the mairie is not enough. You also need to register the activity fully, officially, in 2 ways, either as a non-professional, which I'll explain in a minute, called LMNP, and that would be with greffe du tribunal de commerce, or you're going to be registering it as a business. So my tip number 3 is for you, if you are not living in France and you want to rent your property, you are going to be registering your activity as what we call a non-professional, called LMNP, loueur meublé non professionnel. And this would apply to you, for instance, if you don't live in France, you live abroad, you don't plan to come here, you're a non-resident. Or it could also apply to you, for instance, if you are in France, but you already have another activity, you already have another source of income. For instance, you're retired, you're an employee, or you're self-employed. And also, if the global income from the rental is below 23,000, you would register as what we call a non-professional LMNP with greffe du tribunal de commerce. If you need some help to do this, get in touch with me. That's one of the services that I offer. I would ask you for the documents and we'll get you official papers within 2 weeks, and that's a fairly easy thing to do because even as a non-resident, we just need a proof that you own the property and your passport. We don't need your visa, but just remember, as a non-resident, I'm afraid you have to declare the rental income in France and not abroad. So my tip number 4 is for you if you want to register your holiday rental, your gite, your Airbnb, but as a main activity. This is your main source of income. You are living in France as a full-time resident. You want to be working on this fully. When I say main source of income, it means you're earning at least 50% of your income comes from the gite, and you think you're going to be going over 23,000 euros of bookings per year. If that's your case, we need to register the gite or the Airbnb as a full business in France. And I would recommend to start with to go for a micro entrepreneur just to get you into the system and to get to know how it works. The idea with having a business is that you are going to start to pay some social charges, and this is going to be generating your health cover, a French pension, and a training fund. So the good thing about this is that it's getting you fully into the French system, having a health cover and being a permanent resident here. The downside is that if you are a non-European citizen, unfortunately, because this is a business, you will need to have a business visa or a carte de séjour entrepreneur if you come from the UK. So if you are in France before Brexit and you got your carte de séjour, Article 50, you're fine, that's enough. But if you arrive after that, then you need to apply for carte de séjour entrepreneur. If you're from outside of Europe, you need to apply for a business visa. And also my tip on this is that you need to own the property before you apply for the visa or carte de séjour, because otherwise they'll say no. They won't give you a visa if you don't own the property, because there's a risk of the sale not going through. And they don't want you to have a visa if you don't have the property. So buy the property first and then apply for the business visa. If you want to find more information about these two setups, the non-professional and the business, there's two things you can do. You can watch my masterclass, my Gite masterclass, which is an hour long. I'll add the link below. Or you can take my course, How to Create a Gite, Chambre d'Hôte or Table d'Hôte, which is much longer. It's about 3-4 hours of information about the rules and regulation for each, the different types of businesses you could go for, the different kind of setup you can go for, the taxes that it would imply, the insurance, the banking, and so on. So I'll add the link below. Now, my last tip number 5, is for you if you want to register your Gite or your Airbnb as a business. You have to be very careful because in France we tend to say when you go and register the activity and you just say Gite, it's going to be rejected as a business because we tend to think that Gite is a secondary source of income. It's more like a top-up income. So the way around is, if you want to register your activity as a main business in France, is to add a few services on top. So for instance, you might say Gite, Chambre d'Hôte or Table d'Hôte, but you might say, you might rent some equipment to your guests, not to the passing trade, but to your guests. You might rent bikes, might rent some kayaks or some golf clubs, or you might provide some retreat or themes retreat or some workshops, something that you're passionate about. Or for instance, you could provide some picnic hampers. Or the last one, which I quite like for my customers, is to go for what we call the conciergerie services, where you're going to be providing some services to other Gite owners in the area, people who might be living abroad, where you're going to be doing the key changeover. You might actually promote their Gite or handle the bookings online, or you might do some cleaning or go around after the guests have been around. Just a few services which enables you to add those extra little services in order to register as a business. And my advice is you want to have at least 2 or 3 so it is accepted as a business. So these were my tips for you if you want to declare officially your Gite or your Airbnb in France. I'll look at the links below the video where you'll have extra information. And if you want my help to register either as a professional or non-professional, get in touch and I will take the process over, guiding you as to which documents we need and getting your business papers within 2 weeks.